Hi, this is Larry Dorff, Math Curriculum Consultant for Big Ideas Learning. And you are viewing the first of a series of videos entitled How to Use the Dynamic Assessment Resources DVD, specifically how to use the ExamView assessment software package. ExamView allows you to create a test, quiz, or worksheet quite easily and includes questions that we have written for the Big Ideas Math program. So in this series of videos, I'm going to show you how to create a test, quiz, or worksheet that you can use for your class, how to edit that piece that you've created, how to format it so that it's in a format that you're satisfied with, and then how to print it or even publish it online. In this first video, let's take a look at all of the different ways that you can create a test, a quiz, or a worksheet with the ExamView software package. The first thing you want to do with your ExamView DVD is to load it on your computer. The computer will take you step by step through the process of loading that software onto the computer for you. During the process, it will ask you for your name, your school name, and your city and state. It will also ask you to decide which books in the series you'd like to load on your computer. I would recommend loading all of the books in the series regardless of what book you're using in your classroom. That way you'll have test questions from all of the different levels that you'll be able to pull into your quiz, test, or worksheet. Once you successfully loaded ExamView onto your computer and you open it up for the first time, this is the screen that you should see. The screen has two sides to it, if you notice. There's a left column and a right column. We're going to concentrate on the left column, which is the place that you would go to create a new test, either using the wizard, which is the first way I'm going to show you, creating a test from scratch, I will show you those ways as well, and also to open up an existing test that you've created and stored in ExamView. The right side is for creating new questions or opening up a bank of questions. So again, for today's purposes, we're going to focus on the left side of this box, and the first thing we're going to choose is creating a new test using the wizard. So I'm going to click here. And the first thing that it's going to ask us to do is to name the test or quiz or worksheet. So let's say we're going to create a quiz, and I'm going to call it Quiz on sections 1.1 to 1.3. And then I'm going to click Next. And then you will see a list of all of the books that you have loaded on your ExamView software program. I'm going to come down to the menu and choose the green 6th grade book for our purposes of today's demonstration. So I could either double click or I could highlight that item and click Open. The next thing I'm going to see is a series of folders. One of them says Chapter Resources, one says Cumulative Tests, and one says Pre-Course Test. The pre-course test and the cumulative tests are already designed by the Big Ideas Math program, and you can certainly choose those and pick questions from the cumulative or pre-course tests to include in your quiz. But most times you're going to choose chapter resources. So again, let's highlight and open chapter resources. Now you'll see a list of the chapters, and I'm going to choose chapter 1. So again, I will highlight and open chapter 1. And now I see all of the lessons in the first chapter of the green 6th grade book, including the quizzes and the tests and the standardized test practice from the assessment book. So because I'm making up a quiz for lessons 1.1, 1.2, and 1.3, I would like those banks to go from the top box to the bottom box. And I can do that in one of two ways. I can highlight it and click Select. Notice what happened here is it took lesson 1.1 from the top box and dropped it to the bottom box. Or I can double click and it will drop that same item down. If I wanted to pick all of the items, I could highlight the first one, hold my Shift button down, and highlight the last one, and then all of the items will appear in your box. But because we're only doing lessons 1.1, 1.2, and 1.3, let's drop those three down into our box. And you'll notice that ExamView is now telling us that there are 3 question banks selected with a total of 70 questions available for us to choose from. So now I'm going to click Next. And here I see a grid with all of the different question types that I have available and how many questions I could pick from each of those question types. The first one is called bimodal. bimodal or multiple choice questions that if I were to remove the multiple choices, I would still be able to answer those questions. For instance, if the question said solve for x, 3x equals 9, then if I decided to take away the multiple choices and make that question a free response question, I would be able to do that and still answer the question. An example of a question that would not be bimodal would be one that says which of the following is false and then gives you 4 choices. Obviously, if I took those choices away, I would not be able to identify which one is false. So that would not be a bimodal question. So it's telling me that I have 47 of these bimodal questions to pick from, and it's a quiz, so let's just take 8 of those. Numeric responses is just simply what it sounds like. These would be questions that involve answering the question with a number. So since there are 4, I will take 2 of these. Short answer might involve a little bit more than just a numeric answer. It might be a sentence, or it might ask the students to write an equation, those kinds of things. So for short answer, let's just take 3 of those. And then other types of questions may be multiple representation, multi-step type problems, ones that ask the students to explain and justify as part of their solution. And so they usually tend to be meatier, higher level of difficulty, and take a little bit more time. So I'm just going to take 1 of those. Now you can see here at the bottom I have now selected 13 questions, and I can come back up to any one of those categories and change the numbers if I'd like. You'll notice that if I wanted to give a 70 question quiz, I cannot imagine what that might look like. And what I could do is I could select all and choose all 70 of those questions. On this screen now we can see a summary of all of the choices that we've made. You can see under multiple choice, the 8 questions are listed there, the 2 numeric response questions we chose, the 3 short answer, and 1 other. You have a choice now. You can back it up, hit the back button, and change your choices, or if you're satisfied, you can click Finish. So the wizard is now going out and it's going to pick of those multiple choice numbers, the 47 of them. It's going to randomly pick 8 of those, 2 of them numeric response, 3 short answer, and 1 of the other. And as soon as I click Finish, I have my quiz. And so you can see the quizzes here. At the top you have your space for your name and class and date. The multiple choice questions are first, and so there are the ones that the wizard selected for us. And remember, there are 8 of those, so as I scan down I can see here's 7 and the 8th one on this page. Next are the numeric response questions, and as you can see this one is evaluate the expression. Short answer, these ones are asking us, number 1, 2 ways to write the expression, and numbers 2 and 3 writing this phrase as an expression. And then the other was indeed an extended response question where it's asking the students to do 2 different parts and explain their results of that. After I'm finished looking at the quiz, the next thing I see is the answer key, and the answer key has a lot of information on here, some of which we may or may not need for our answer key. And when we get to the video on formatting, I'll show you how to take some of that out of here so that you just have the information that you're looking for in your answer key. But the next piece is your answer key for your multiple choice and your numeric response and your short answer, and then the question for the extended response question. And again, the process that we just used is creating a test using the wizard. The wizard is available anytime you want to create a new test with the wizard. You can do that. I will show you where that button is located in just a moment. The nice thing about the wizard is that it's a very fast way to create a quiz tester worksheet. So if you're in a hurry and you're just looking to create one in a quick amount of time, you can do that with the wizard. The disadvantage of the wizard is you don't have the flexibility to pick and choose the questions that you'd like to use on your quiz tester worksheet. That is available, but just not under the wizard. So what we're going to do now is we are going to exit out of this particular test by coming up to the file at the top of the screen, the top left hand corner, and we're going to do new test. And it's going to ask us if we want to save this old one, and at this point I would not like to save this one. I will show you in our print publish section of the video series how to save the quiz tester worksheet. We're going to say no for right now, and it's going to ask us to retitle our next quiz tester worksheet, and I'm going to do it the same way. I'm going to call it quiz on sections 1.1 to 1.3, and when I hit OK, the next thing I see is an information box that tells me all of the other ways that I can create a test, quiz, or worksheet in ExamView. These icons also appear at the top of your screen. This is just a snapshot of those. And you can see that there are 6 other ways that I can create, or I should say 6 ways to create a quiz tester worksheet. The first one, select randomly, is just what we did with the wizard. So if you're already in a quiz tester worksheet and want to create a new one in ExamView using the wizard, that's called select randomly. The second one is called select from a list. I'm going to take a look at each of these individually. One's called select while viewing, select by standard, select by criteria, or simply select all, which would be picking all of the questions that are available in the question bank. So I'm going to click OK for right now, and again, all of those icons appear at the top of the screen. If you hover over one, it will tell you what it is. Select randomly, select from a list, select while viewing, select by standard, select by criteria, and select all. So again, select randomly is the same as the wizard, so we're not going to do that one again. Select from a list will probably not be one that you would want to choose simply because you don't have a sheet in front of you with all of the test questions in print. If I click select from a list, it's going to take me back to the screen where I have my green 6th grade book, and I'm in chapter 1 already, so I'm going to pick those same 3 lessons. I'm going to do what I had told you about earlier, where I click on the first one, hold down the shift button, click on the last one, and click select, so all 3 drop down at one time. Then I'm going to click next, and you can see here that it's just simply a list of questions that if you don't have the actual question in front of you, you may not know what multiple choice number 1, 2, 3, and so on are. So this is probably not one, I'm going to click cancel, not one that you would necessarily pick to create your test, quiz, or worksheet. The next one from the over to the right is called select while viewing, and this is an excellent way to create a quiz tester worksheet because you're going to actually get to see the questions that you're choosing before you choose them. So let's click that, and you'll notice I already have lessons 1, 2, and 3 in my box ready to go, so I'm going to click next. And now you're looking at a window, and in that window is lesson 1.1, and it starts with the multiple choice questions. You can read over the question. If you like it, just put a little check mark in the box next to it, and it's yours. It will go into your quiz as soon as you're ready to do that. You can scan down, look at each and every question if you like, find one that you like, click check mark, it'll go into your section. Again, continuing, I'm just randomly picking a few for my quiz that I like, and those are the multiple choice ones that I'm going to pick. Now I'm down to, after the multiple choice ones are over, I'll see my short response questions. You can see there's quite a number of choices here. Here's my numeric response, so maybe I'll just take 1 or 2 of those. Here's a short answer question. Maybe I like that one. And 1 extended response question to pick from. You'll notice at the bottom of each question it does give you some information, the number of points that it's worth, which we can change. I will show you that when we format. The level of difficulty, what standards being covered. Every single question in ExamView is tied to a Common Core standard. Keywords that would help you find this question. What type of level of problem this is in Bloom's taxonomy. And what question from the student book relates to this particular question. So in the student book under lesson 1.1, question number 22 in the exercise is the same as this type of question. Now that's just lesson 1.1. You can see that here where it says bank, it says lesson 1.1 evaluating algebraic expressions. Now I'm going to drop down to the menu and pick 1.2, and now I have a fresh set of choices for lesson 1.2. And again, I'll just randomly pick a couple of questions that I like. For this one, I might actually pick an extended response question if there is one, and there it is, so I'll take that one. It's got a nice little graph along with it. It looks like there's more than one. And then I'm going to drop down again to my bank, pick lesson 1.3, and do the same thing. Pick a couple of questions from this section. I'll scan down a little bit further, maybe pick a short answer one, and let's take this one. Now it'll tell you at the bottom, in case you've lost track of how many questions you've selected, you've picked 15 questions on the test. Once we're finished, you can always go back and grab more questions, and you can delete questions. When we talk about editing, I'll show you how to delete questions from your quiz tester worksheet. But for now, I've got a 15-question quiz. I'm just going to click Finish, and now all of those questions that you viewed and chosen are now in your quiz. They're organized not by lesson, but by what type of problem it is, multiple choice, and the numeric response, your short answer, and then your extended response. And the multiple choice and numeric response, short answer, and your other problem, the answer key is right there for you. And I noticed that the chart and the graph that we saw is actually part of the answer, not the question. So that's one way to create a quiz tester worksheet, and that's right here with the little binoculars, and it's called Select While Viewing. The next one we're going to take a look at is Select by Standard. And it's exactly what you would think it would be. You'll be able to pick questions by standard. So let's get a new quiz again. And let's not save this one. Let's still call it the same thing we've been calling it, quiz on sections 1.1 to 1.3. And this time we're going to select by standard, pick those same 3 lessons, or you can change it to a different set if you'd like. Click Next. And here you see all of the Common Core standards that are associated with those 3 sections in the textbook. And because the first sections in chapter 1 are about equations and expressions, it makes sense that our Common Core standards are going to be the EE, equation and expression standards. So it's telling me that if I want to create a quiz or test or a worksheet just on 6EE.1, I have 2 questions that I can pick from. And maybe I want to be more specific and add some more standards to it, but I can simply say, well, I know that I want my students to practice 6.EE.4, and there are 19 questions there, so give me 10 of those, and I'll click Select, and just that standard now has been included in my quiz. You'll notice the window stayed, even though those questions are now in my quiz, because maybe you'd like to now add some additional questions into your quiz, and you certainly can do that. So now I have a quiz, and it just simply has that one particular standard that we wanted to address. Okay, let's get a new quiz again, new sheet, and we'll continue calling it the same thing that we've been calling it, because the next thing we're going to take a look at now is selecting by criteria. This allows you to take your sections that you're going to create your quiz tester worksheet on and narrow down your search options. Question type, for instance, you can pick strictly multiple choice or strictly numeric response or short answer questions. You could say I want a certain level of difficulty, 1 being easiest, 2 being a little bit more difficult, level 3 being a little more difficulty level. This is based on Webb's depth of knowledge, levels 1, 2, and 3. Again, I could pick from my standards. I don't have to go to search by standard. I could select my standards from here if I wanted to. I could use a particular keyword. Maybe I'm just looking for questions that involve evaluating, something like that. And so those choices are available to me. Now keep in mind that the more precise I am and the more criteria I add, the less number of questions I'll have available. For instance, let's say I only wanted multiple choice. Well, now it's telling me of all the questions I had available, there are now only 47. We started with 70. If I were to go to National Standard and pick 6EE.2b, now I'm at 19. And again, if I'm looking at keywords and I want to go to evaluate, now it's telling me there aren't any questions in 6.E.2b that are related specifically to evaluate. So I've managed to lower my number of search options by being too specific. So you do want to be careful about how many specific criteria you add as you're looking for questions. You can always bring that screen back if you were looking for some higher level difficulty questions. You brought a few in and then you wanted to go back and bring in some DOK2. You can always go back, bring the screen back up and pull those in too. Again, that was called Select by Criteria. And the last one, I'm not going to get a new quiz for this because, as you can imagine just by the name of it, Select All is simply going to allow you to just bring in all 70 questions that we had available for those first 3 lessons. You could choose to do that and then, using the Edit option, delete the questions that you don't want on the quiz tester worksheet. And that is another way to do it. And you certainly can do it that way. You could just say yes to this, and then as you're going through, pick out the ones that you don't want and remove those from the quiz tester worksheet. I'm going to show you how to do that in the next video on editing your quiz, your test, or your worksheet. Well, I hope you found this video helpful on how to create a quiz test or worksheet using ExamView from your Dynamic Assessment Resources DVD. In the next video, I'm going to take a pre-made quiz test worksheet that we've used ExamView to create and then edit it. And we'll take a look at some things like adding and removing questions, editing questions, and so on. So please check out video number 2, how to edit an ExamView quiz, test, or worksheet.